involved in these policies, and the recommendation was to include concealed weapons as well as not being allowed. And if anything comes up, that you are covered because of litigation currently underway. So the decision by NCSI's recommendation, as well as the committee, was to keep concealed weapons in these policies as well, or in later policies of weapons that are in these updates. So that was my position.
It just says at the bottom, this policy will be published annually in all academy student staff handbooks, just making sure that we have it.
Absolutely. And actually, Tanya, would you make a note of that in minutes as well, just so we have another reminder?
I make a motion to accept policy number 5772.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And one abstention from Keith. Next policy is 5830, student fundraising. And I'm going to speak to this because you actually had a question about it. Because I was a little confused when we first went over this too, but it really deals with snacks and issues like that. Revisions to this policy are the result of Public Act 42 of 2015, effective September 1, 2015. The law authorizes the Michigan Department of Education to establish regulations for fundraisers that are non-compliant with USDA Smart Snacks in schools nutrition standards. The ND allows for not less than 2 fundraising activities per week. However, a board may choose to adopt more restrictive language. We went ahead and went with the general language of 2. Options provided in these revisions should be considered carefully prior to adoption. And again, it generally is saying if you're having fundraisers, so like you're getting donuts and you're selling donuts, or you're selling brownies all the time, or you're selling candy all the time, these candy fundraisers that people always do, it really is targeting the smart foods and some legislation put forth with Michelle Obama, et cetera. So that really is what it speaks to, but I'll open it up to any other discussion that you all may have.
Well, I'd still be concerned about where it says only when the profit is to be used for school purposes or for an activity connected with the academy. I don't know if that clearly allows us to have like the jump rope.
Yeah. We did go over general fundraisers, and if it's not too great a frequency, his point was there shouldn't be any problems with fundraisers like this, and even fundraisers for doing, I believe we actually did discuss doing fundraisers for charity work and those kind of things, and he said that should not be a problem.
So that's I guess we would just have to make it have some connection to the academy in terms of curriculum.
And certainly, I mean, and this one does, because they're going over health as part of it. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Any motions for 5830?
I make a motion to accept policy number 5830.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One abstention for Keith. 6. I'm just trying to get my place. Actually, I don't think there is the 611.
611?
Yeah, with 611.
That's the grant fund?
Yeah, it's the grant. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, 611. Okay. Sorry about that. Does anyone have any issues with grant fund 6110?
Just the blank that's in here for proposals with budgets exceeding blank. On page 2.
Actually.
In gray.
Yeah, no, I see that.
I don't know if we're supposed to check them, or those check boxes?
I think that this may, I think that actually this may be a typo from NCSI's position have already been checked. So that's another issue we're going to do, because when we talked about this, what we do is we check these. That's what we need to do. And as I remember, the recommendation was for all proposals, regardless of the amount. And that was, yeah, absolutely. So that actually was the proposal that we offered.
And then in grant administration D, I think maybe one of those two is supposed to be checked.
And it's supposed to be ESP.
ESP.
Yeah, so that should be an ESP.
What are they referring to as the educational service provider versus the academy?
Yeah, so the educational service provider is because they are hired by an educational service provider.
Okay.
So educational service provider also provides for them as their job, so it's like an adjunct for also them. So that's a general catch-all that they suggest you use in our instance, because we do not employ them. As, like, we don't, at the academy, we have the educational ID.
Yeah.
That's what
And currently that would be access.
and that would be access. I would offer, however, that we approve this given the change is that it is government funded patrols regardless of the amount, and that is the ESP and item D. They usually don't miss that stuff. That's interesting. So on the master sheet, that was checked. So do you have any problems with that? And we can adopt it with that provision. We can get back to them on that, so it's not tabled for a period of time. Any issues with that? All right, any motions for that? 6110.
Motion to accept policy number 6110.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6320 is purchasing. Generally, these are fairly straightforward. Does anyone have any issues with the purchasing? So any motion for 6320?
Make a motion to accept policy 6320.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstention? Oh, yes, sorry. 6550 is the travel payment and reimbursement. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's going to be any particular concerns here. We don't generally do that anyway, so. All right, any motion for 6550?
Make a motion to accept policy number 6550.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
One abstention. All right, 6850, public disclosure and reporting. Again, this is based on law. I don't believe there's any particular changes we can even make on this one, but I'm gonna open it up to any discussion.
Do we know if we're in compliance with this?
Yes.
Let's do it. So this is what's, it's, you know, the 15, this was the one I was concerned about, it's 15 days, that it has to be up. Just making sure that this is what we're already doing.
Yes.
So if we adopt
And
it,
I'll
we've
open it
already
up.
done it.
I mean, that's my understanding. All right, 6850, any motions for that?
Make a motion to accept policy 6850.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, 6217 is weapons, and this is visitors. Again, I discussed the concealed weapons issue. That's the one point that I can see someone have a question, but other than that, I think it's fairly straightforward. Any questions about it, though? All right, 6217.
Make a motion to accept policy number 7217.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. One abstention. All right. Next is 8321, criminal justice information security. Again, we already do this. We already have this in place, so shouldn't be any particular issues with this.
We talked about this earlier. I think we were doing some background checks.
Yeah,
Are
so
those
we have
all
an
in place?
officer. We have an officer.
Who is that?
Yes.
Oh, that's your.
They keep the new employees submit fingerprint background check, either to their previous employers, these went out to me, in a certain time period, or to the FBI and stuff. They send an encrypted email to me. I verify, read over the statements, and there's a blue green form that I have to fill out, submit to Denise, that either rejects or accepts their employment in the school.
So that's basically between access and the.
No, between me and,
He gives a go, no go.
But who's sending it to you? State. Okay.
That was a new law that came out that basically took it out of.
Denise used to do it, but the new law
Oh,
said.
that's what it
couldn't
was.
be-
I think there was like, I think it was my first meeting and I was saying.
They're actually gonna change it yet too, they're saying, so.
Sounds good.
Motion to accept policy 8321.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention? Aye.
Yes, sir.
I've been trying to like make sure I hear you too. I've heard you, and that one I wasn't sure. All right, 8400 is Academy Safety information. A lot of this is targeted towards gang issues and so forth. But anyone have any questions about that one? If not, I would have 8400 up for potential motion.
Actually, before you
Yeah.
get the bold on page 2, just wanted to make sure that we had somebody who would be doing this. Each academy building shall collect and keep current on a weekly basis the information required from the report of incidents of crime and must provide that information within 7 days upon request.
Yes. Good. There's no issues with that, correct? Okay, any motions for 8400?
I make a motion to accept policy number 8400.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. Keith, I feel like you got light work today.
I'm not getting paid.
That takes care of it right there. The next one is simply to delete a policy because we do not offer hot lunch. So that's really, I don't think any discussion need to be made there. So I'd offer 8500 up for motion.
I make a motion to delete policy number 8500.
Second.
All in favor?
Actually, what if the school decided to do that?
We can then reinstitute
Just
the policy.
reinstitute it.
We would know that ahead.
We don't need something in case like a teacher has, I don't know, orders pizza or something like that.
No, it's an organized.
It's an organized, like a
made here,
school.
kitchen.
Okay.
That's,
All right.
yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. One abstention.
No.
We also need to adopt the table of contents. I almost forget that every time. So it just modifies the table of contents to like delete 8500 and add the others. And again, the other table one will be just help get correction on it.
I make a motion to accept the table of contents.
Second, sorry.
It's okay. All in favor? Aye. All right, table of contents is adopted, one abstention. Okay. Moving right along. Budget amendments. I will open that up actually if Denise wants to speak to some of these amendments based on our operating budget. I think that would be appropriate. And I think I'd open the floor to her and or Alan, either way.
I think Ellen hit on
Okay.
almost all of them.
I mean, I can honestly just open it up to discussion.
We showed, in early on here, when we approved the budget, the audit wasn't complete at that time. So if you look at the bottom line numbers there, it'll show the final audited balance, which is a little higher than they predicted, which is nice to see. So, even with the new expenditure increases that Alan mentioned, we're coming out at, just under 50 grand.
And that's still have the what they doing half this year, half next fiscal year,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
Are these the financials you sent out, email? Is that what you're talking about right now? Okay.
No, that's not
Oh,
what
that's
The
not
one
what
attached to this,
What was that attached to?
sheet just attached it extra here. But
So it's the amendment that we're voting on.
the amendment is here,
Right.
it's the line item amendments for the line item. So that is the master.
So I can just briefly explain the changes, if that helps.
Yeah.
So Ellen talked about the student costs. So what we approved in the fall was 116, and we're at 114 FTEs. So you'll see that in the revenue portion in the beginning there, of a loss of 14,436. And then in expenditures, the changes were for our special education area. We were higher at 102,335. We've lowered that to 92, which is taking into account the expected savings with the new service provider. The next one is under general admin, so legal fees. There was a large increase there of $40,000 to cover current billing.
We're not increasing 40, we're just increasing 240.
Correct, up to 40, I'm sorry, yes, originally we were at 8.
And that's also projected because where we are currently versus that includes projected.
The next, one was under the advertising section here, still under that same budget category. We were at 1,500 earlier in the year. The amendment, is listed here at 2,500, so up 1,000. The other purchase services, which is that account under that same category, is up 5,000, simply to account for the administrative policies if the board does decide to go ahead and purchase those, as we've been discussing.
Is that a one-time fee or
Correct,
is that
it's a one-time fee, and with your board policies, they will update your admin guidelines to back that up on an annual basis, but you do not pay anything again for the admin policies, or, sorry, admin guidelines, you simply pay for the policy fee that comes every year.
And what's the policy fee?
That is 1,700 for the year.
So every year we pay?
Correct, that's an annual fee.
So that was the 1,700 that was there in red, 5,000 for the, gotcha.
Exactly.
All right.
The next one is, we're adding a new, account number under the budget category of operations for the copy machine we talked about. And that's at least, 2,400 for the year. Next is, D&D under business support services for the, NASA membership that we discussed as well, Alan discussed. And that's around 350, 400, annual fee. And then the last change was under building improvement, so we talked about updating this space currently to allow for another classroom in the 17-18 school year. So we'd start that, this phase this year, which would allow us to, begin the process with an architect and draw those plans, and then submit those plans to the state, get that first phase going, and then next year's school year, we would have to allot for the construction costs of that and the final state approvals.
So the 30,000 is just to hire architectural firm?
Well, no, we split that in half.
Yeah.
The first half is just to get the plans drawn up and submit all the fees for the application.
Okay.
The next half is
And next
special.
year we'll have 15,000 to start.
Yeah, the thing is, since we get 20 more, projected 20 more students, right, at 140K, your payback's less than a year, so it's actually a really good investment.
And so those were the changes in this amendment, and that brings us to 48,343 in our pending fund balance.
That's
Projected.
around 5%.
Right.
Correct. Just any balance, surplus, so to speak.
The good news there is that we are recording this, loss in revenues because that is actually where we are right now, but we're looking really close to gaining a couple more students here soon, so we're hoping we'll just get ourselves like that.
So if we gain students, we're not actually getting, what percent do we get?
It's not for the entire year, yeah, you have to allocate that accordingly.
But
And
do-
the state does that on a monthly basis now.
Oh, that's what, that was my question,
Yeah.
okay. And with the advertising, we're increasing the advertising by 1,000, what is the plan for that, or what was
The
that?
signage that we talked about on the road, we
Oh,
need to update
okay.
that, and then,
Plus for the
we
cost
also
for
have.
advertisements for the magazines, newspapers, for the enrollment.
Enrollment.
They're gonna break it for you.
Okay. And then we added equipment leasing, what did we take off somewhere? or-
So that, yeah, go ahead.
Because we don't have, I mean, we're not purchasing ink
That
and
actually,
things like that.
for us, because we're actually spending more in ink.
But I'm saying, where in the budget did we have, like, the ink and
Supplies and
the-
materials.
So that was in supplies and
Yeah.
materials, did that decrease?
Yeah. No, we did not decrease for that because our expenditures currently are pretty high in that area, so it will give us a lower, when we come out of the year-end amendment, we'll have a little bit of play there, but right now, it's just astronomical what we're paying for ink and things of that nature.
Was that also where we had, when we had to have them come in for maintenance? Did we also have that in the budget?
Yeah, well, no.
Was it?
So that was never.
That's
That was
where
at
we
the
put it
cost.
in, yeah, so.
So we want to
Which
take
they
that
won't
back.
Yeah, I think it's
back.
good to
They'll
have,
move
I think
that
it's good to make it a
in.
conservative
Well,
estimate.
it's just maintenance for the copies, for everything we have, for all of our printers. They do everything. It's really a good deal. And they
Just-
supply
just
all the
a single
ink.
unit, just the
Which is
printers, yeah.
printers,
Yeah.
Yeah, all the toner, the maintenance and
Yeah.
everything.
And the dues and fees, I assume that's for something specific?
That's for Matt. talking about
Next.
MAPSA, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's for the, we originally were, but we are
Oh,
gonna
I'm sorry, I knew that.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
Because there are a lot of programs, there's a lot of things that can be helpful. Again, I mentioned in response to public comment that there's things that that can help us with guidance as we move forward and continue to grow.
For the, I guess, modifying the hub to a classroom, do we have any idea what the total cost on that will be? Is that the 30,000 or that's
Yeah,
just?
There's been some estimates.
That's total that you expect.
But again, we don't know until the state comes in and says, you have to do this, this, and this.
Okay.
You know, we won't know that until we submit the plans.
And where is the church since it's their building?
They are fully aware that this is our intention, they have given us permission to do that. However, as you can imagine, in the course of this process, they're gonna need to be part of this committee, so
Right.
they know exactly what's happening.
And we're gonna discuss the committee on that.
Okay. And then in terms of, I know that they increased the rent by 33% on a monthly basis, correct, from 3,000 to 4,000?
So we're at 3,000 this year, we'll go up to 4 next year.
Oh, it's next year, it's
Correct.
4,000,
Correct.
okay, because there's
We're at
building
35.
rental changed from 30 to 35.
Correct, because that accounts for what they increased this year.
Here's an incremental.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
all right. And then, has there been any, I don't know, consideration of rather an alternative to putting $30,000 into this building? Has been discussed?
It's been discussed and, you know, there's, to that point, honestly, there are some other buildings, I think that there are some other buildings that we should at least put fillers into. One being one in Northville that, Montessori had been using. Initially that was thought to be potentially a non-starter because, you know, many of the public school systems, particularly play well with charter schools coming into even property that's not being used. However, if they're being used for other schools that aren't public school, then that may open up potential doors. So we have discussed that, you know, buying property straight out. I think, you know, we all know that that's not possible right now, but it has been discussed. And again, if anyone else has any other comments on that, it's been discussed, but, you know, trying to balance the right time and so forth. But it may be something that could be useful and something that we need to ping on.
So I have a question. Do we
Yeah.
have a lease for a certain period of time, or are we able to get out of it at the end of this year or next
We've,
year?
5-year lease, we have 2 more years left on that lease, and we have a 5-year option to renew it.
At the same price, 4,000?
Options, when we talk about price reduction.
Now it's got the congregation, so.
So, I mean, I guess that, you know, in terms of, I don't know how we're gonna approve the budget, if we're approving it as one. I would be concerned about approving $30,000 to make modifications to this building.
It'll be 15.
This year, well.
But I see what you're saying.
Right,
It's 15.
I mean, it's basically a year's worth of lease money that maybe we could put into improved facility rather than one classroom, adding a classroom.
Yeah, I think during the lease, you know, we're gonna be in the lease for, unless there's potentially breakout portion, you know, I think that's something to be considered, and
And this is the first of the 2 years, or we have 2 more years?
2 more years.
2 additional. Okay.
so that's why, you
Keep in
know,
mind though that if you spend 30, you get 140K a year, so we'll actually make more money.
What if you have the maximum number of kids in that room?
And that's the intent, that we fill the max capacity.
I mean, I agree there is some risk there, however, I do know that many of the teachers, you know, space is a problem, for a lot of the activities that they wanna do. And one of the biggest issues, just to clarify, is the hub is only a partial time use room. That's the biggest problem. If it were a full-time use room, then yeah, that could be a classroom, it could be other activities they do during the day. So there's a lot of added benefit. And again, you know, it's been discussed, those options I think are very fair to bring up. But in the end, I think it's one of those, you could call it stopgap even, and you know, if that is what it is, then maybe that is what it is. One of those things that for the benefit of just being able to educate the students in a much more efficient way, something that we may just have to do. So that's why, you know, I think that we should at least start, you know, fine, you don't commit to the whole 30 here, but at least you commit to putting in a line budget that you can start that investigation. If it looks like it's a non-starter, then you pull back and maybe you've lost 5 or 6, but at least it was begun. If we don't begin, then it'll never get there.
How are we in terms of the classrooms? Are classrooms sufficient in size and? I mean, it's an old building.
It is an
That's
old
what, where my
building.
concern would be, that we're making modifications to a really old building, how much construction is going to end up being when they start pulling out electrical and
It
everything
would
else.
be this wing of the building, because we are already approved, obviously, for the area that we're educating
Right.
in. So any changes there would be a completely different animal, because we would have to, that would be my.
But I'm talking about in terms of, you know, staying here and building versus, you know, finding something else. I mean, if the teachers feel that the classrooms that they're in are, you know, plenty sufficient for what their needs are, then, yeah, I mean, staying here and building an additional classroom seems to make sense. But if they're saying our rooms are too small, our rooms are too whatever, it just seems to me that the discussion should be about finding a more appropriate place. And I don't know about in terms of moving the parents, you know, whether that would be good, or I don't know where the vast majority.
I do think that, yeah, I do think one quick point that's worth happening is that we have looked at what will it cost, or what are the things that need to be done. I think that's part of what you're getting at too. So this wall needs to go all the way to the ceiling. It looks like it kind of does, but it doesn't. So this behind wall has to be completed because of a fire issue. That door has to be changed to. All right, we're going to move on into our leadership and teacher reports. Interestingly enough, if the agenda goes as planned, this will actually be the last time I call you this, but we'll start out with our instructional lead report and.
Thank you. On the agenda for my report, I did have the administrator evaluation, and that evaluation document that was sent to you all would primarily be for me. We would still have to create ones for the other leaders, and as well as our instructional aides and our office staff. So all of those evaluation tools are still being processed. So, I think the rest of the agenda, is that on the agenda to be approved?
Yes.
Okay, so, did anyone have any questions on that document? It was, very similar to the teacher's document as far as, data and things like that. Obviously, different things like lesson plans were changed, but it's still the same type of format as far as the rubric goes.
And I think you said that, Access Point is providing a person to do that, to do the evaluation.
That I don't know, if we have to decide that.
Yeah, it's something that we will have to discuss. We want to look at the rubric and approve the rubric as we wanted to, and then that's another thing for an item probably for next month, or the month after, just before the end of the year. Because we, you know, again, it can be an agent, so to speak, but it's something we'll have to discuss. What's the tools of
Okay, well, I wasn't sure, since she's an employee at Access Point, whether they would be.
Well, per policy, you know, the policy, again, we can look at the policy, it says the board will review, and it says access. So there's a couple of different reviews for the administrator, and again, that's something I think we do need to relook at again. And I was holding that for an agenda once this tool was actually approved, so that wasn't on the agenda for tonight.
And how many times will you be evaluated in a year?
Well, since it's kind of late coming in this year, it'll probably be just the end of the year. The state only requires an end of the year.
Okay,
But I
that's
would
my next
assume-
question.
I would assume going forward, next year, that it would be the same as the teachers, a mid-year and an end of the year.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Okay. In the report, I also sent the MSTEP data comparison report. And so I wanted to go over a couple items on that report and just kind of explain the less than 10 rule on that. Anyone need an extra copy
Yeah.
while I'm, So, for public information, if you have less than 10 students in a grade level, you can't report out the actual numbers, just because the state says, you know, that it's easier to identify the students that way. And so, in any of our public documents, online, in newspapers, anything like that, when they show our MSTEP data in certain grade levels, they have to show that less than 10 mark, just meaning there were less than 10 students who tested in that specific grade level. But what I did was actually calculated our actual percentages, and so on the comparison report, what you'll see is anything highlighted in yellow is where we, as branch line, outperformed the comparison. So the first one is the comparison to the state, and you'll see, roughly over 75% of the areas branch line outperform the state averages on the MSTEP, as well as the county. And then the next two are charter schools. And then the last one is Livonia Public Schools, where we outperformed about half of Livonia Public Schools. Pretty positive. When speaking with Saginaw, they were pretty impressed with our MSTEP data as well. So I think we have a good baseline. This data has been shared with the teachers. We'll also be discussing it next week further in our school improvement plan meeting, and making plans to go forward. Our weakest area right now is math, and so that's what our focus is going to be, is to devise some new math plans going forward on how to do that. Any questions on that? Some exciting news.
Can I ask you a quick question about MSTEP? What information, what information is being sent home to parents?
The student reports were sent home to the parents, as well as a handout from the state that kind of said how to read the parent reports. We also sent a link to a video that the state had sent out that goes over the reports as well. So, I did have a couple parents that had further questions, and they brought those reports to me, and I sat down and had meetings with them to go over them. Miss Amy, our new navigator teacher, started on Monday, and so that has been excellent. She is a great fit so far. We've got a lot of positive feedback from students and parents, and she's already getting math groups going. So she's already looked at the data and have the kids going. So that's been huge for us. I just finished our teachers mid-year evaluations. Tomorrow we have a professional development day, so I'll have one-on-one meetings with all of the teachers to go over their evaluations. Probably everyone back is at me right now.
Actually, the more I call looking away.
No, they're all doing really great. They would know by now if they had any concerns. So, but what I explained to them is that information is really just a baseline for them to see where they need to continue to grow for the end of the year, because the state doesn't collect that mid-year data on the evaluations either. So, we have our school-wide jump rope for heart going on right now. So that's just school-wide, the school-wide service learning activity where we're collecting donations for the American Heart Association. And so the students, what they really care about are these little plastic dogs that come on a lanyard for every little donation that they give. So, but today we raised about $1,000 for the American Heart Association, and that goes for another 2 weeks. So that's been great too. All of our reauthorization documents with Saginaw have been completed and submitted with receipt. Saginaw has sent us documentation saying they received them. And in that documentation, they stated too that contracts will be given in May after the approval of the Saginaw Valley Board. So we'll keep you updated on that. Questions?
I don't know how that fits with this. That we haven't approved yet.
We talked about that. I think it's still fine.
It's okay. Okay.
I mean, we can look at that again if you want, but it's still should be fine. I think a lot of that has to do with food and stuff too.
Well, it was, that it has to be for school purposes, for an activity connected with the academy,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Some of that was food related too.
That new
I guess more
policy, yeah.
specifically food related.
You can
Because
only have some.
it's about healthy food versus bad food, like
Yeah.
donuts and
Okay.
stuff, and it's
Yeah.
really more directed to that, and Michelle Obama's,
Right.
so it really has more.
We haven't approved that anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Is there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our operational lead report, and Denise.
A lot of what I was going to talk about is in the business under. So we have a budget amendment information and things of that nature, copy machine contract, that'll come to that budget amendment as well. We're working on the calendar for next year too, so we had a working session on that. Really went through it and, talked to the teachers about what worked, what didn't. We looked at days and hours. The state is increasing instructional days this coming year from 175 to 180. And so we'll be right where we need to be, of course. But the calendar will be submitted to the board in February. And then from there is also the MIE initial waiver because we're starting school before Labor Day. We received that last year and it was in Palms. They were actually very impressed with our calendar, the state was. So I don't foresee any problems getting that waiver. But that will come to you next month.
Is there a plan B if they don't give that waiver?
You know, they didn't have an issue with it
Okay.
last year, so I don't foresee anything like that. I mean, the plan B would be them to readjust our calendar.
I'm assuming if they didn't, they would point out where you have to adjust, right? Yeah, I think they
The
would.
major tourism issue is Labor Day, and they liked the fact that we were really looking at a balanced calendar, and it was based on brain research, and we were doing it, you know, with students, with staff, and that sort of thing. So I really don't foresee any pushback on that, but, I would assume that would have to be our course of action change.
Can we get that well before the school year?
Absolutely,
starts? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. That's why we do it this time of year.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
All right, we'll be going over the budget stuff later. We'll make more questions then, so that's perfectly fine. So move on to the cultural leader report. Molly?
Yeah, my report was really to introduce those fine friends, and then my enrollment committee report comes a little bit later, so.
Okay. I do want to comment that if you do have a public comment, please fill out a form. We do want to hear from everyone, but we also want to be able to track who made a comment and what the general comment was about. So we're gonna move over into public comment. I have 2 forms already, but please bring your forms forward if you have one. If you want to make a public comment and haven't filled out a form, please grab one, just so we know who you are and just the gist of what you wanted to speak about, okay? So I think the first person, Jerry,
I already asked a question last week.
I am going to get to the response to you
Okay.
and the correspondence and response to our
Thank
public.
you.
Actually, all the public comments from last month, we do have responses for, and I'll be going over those things
Okay.
in the next section. I debated switching those around, but I wanted to hear any public comments before we got into that part. So, well, we will respond to that. Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a parent, and looking at the agenda and stuff, so that's why I made my comment. I was very disappointed to see that the required funding for legal support is increasing from $8,000 to $40,000. And I know the school has to protect itself legally, but it's disappointing because that money could be used more productive for purposes such as building improvements, classroom materials, and teacher salaries. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate the comment. We also have a form from Stacy. Ms. Robbins.
Hi, I'm a parent, and I echo Jerry's comment. And I also wanted to just say thank you all for the hours and hours of uncompensated time that you spend as board members. The vast majority of parents are really happy, and I think kind of the silent majority, isn't represented here very often. So thank you for your hours and hours of time. We really appreciate your effort.
Ronnie, you didn't tell me this was uncompensated.
Surprise. We appreciate the comment. Thank you very much. And we're happy to work for the benefit of the school that's doing the work that Jen talked about. I think that some of the proof's in the numbers, and to me that's the focus. So I'm glad we're improving things for kids and their education. So that's really good. But thanks for the comment. We appreciate that. If there's any other pages, please bring them forward. Evening, Mark.
So here's the and my only couple comment is I just want to provide you guys with the school surveys for the parent, teacher, and staff from 2015 February. And that's it.
Thanks. Sam, did you have any other comments or anything? Or?
Well, I just I think that those surveys really catch the pulse of the school, and if we don't have town hall meetings, it's important that all people are allowed to see these documents. They're public documents. I had to go to the entire lengths of a Freedom of Information Act to get those.
And to pay for them.
And I had to pay for them, and it got me banned out of the school.
Violation of federal and state law.
Anyone have any other comments?
Alfred, do you have any comments?
Yeah, my question is, why are you upping the money for what this gentleman talked about?
We will go over that in the budget adjustments, and we can discuss it then. My quick response to you is that we have to increase budget items to make sure that we have budget to cover it for the year. And so that's the reason for that line item. And we'll talk about it more in our budget adjustments.
And another thing, how do you base your, when you make a decision, do you make a decision on how you feel or what you feel or how you feel or how you think?
The best way I can say the board's job is to really base on policy, if there is a policy, and we are based on a policy governing board. And so when it comes to opinion on one particular issue or the other, we tend to not give just opinions. We base it on policy whenever possible. And so really the responsibility of the board is to try to speak to policy in fact and to do the business of running the school and the governance of the school. So we try not to get too far into certainly those types of situations and conversations because we're really a policy producing board, and we're not here to say what a discipline guideline should be. That's not our responsibility.
That's not the question. I didn't ask that question. I asked, how do you make your decisions? Based on how you feel or how you think?
Well, we're all individuals, and I'm only going to respond to this last little bit for a second. We're all individuals, so we bring to the table our own individual experience. That's part of what it is to have different people on the board. And so I don't know exactly how to respond to you, except that we have to go based on the facts in front of us and what we feel like are the best situation according to those facts, whether it's a policy approval or whatnot. And that's the best way I can describe that to you without kind of going into kind of a debate, which we don't want to get into in the public comment situation, because we try to speak really to facts as much as possible. Anyone have any other public comments right now?
Yes, I do have something else to say. Based on what happened to my son, I just wanted to let the board know that there is a police report, and you know, what happened to my son should have never happened to my son.
I appreciate your comments. I will say that we do try to keep things very confidential when it comes to the board meeting because it's an open meeting. So I just do want to say that, it's your son and you've spoken about that, and that's fine. But we do try to keep confidentiality when it comes to students in general. So I do want to say that, but I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, but if it's my son, I have the right to say it.
Right, I said, yes, with your son, you can.
Other
mention-
people, if people want to listen, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine.
Right, I'm just trying to say we try to keep things confidential as much as possible when it comes to students in the open meeting. That's all.
Frankly, I don't agree with that because people should know what was really going on. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. I do want to get into the correspondence section at this point. I just wanted to speak to some of the comments that were brought up in public comment before. Since it was just brought up by Mr. Bruce a minute ago, he had asked the last board meeting to look at incidents in December. And again, because of confidentiality, we won't be going into specifics, but I will tell you that the board looked into the matters very thoroughly. We actually had a board member, Tanya, to talk to leadership and others about incidents.
Can you tell them what the question I asked was?
As I remember, your question is you wanted the board to look into the incidents occurring in December.
No, that's not what I said.
Alfred, your question was if a student assaulted,
Yeah,
is there a protocol
what
for
is your
happens?
protocol if somebody is assaulted on this property or in the school? That's the question I had.
And I'm gonna respond to what our policy on assault is as well.
Yeah, this is public, man.
Right, and actually.
You don't have to hide anything.
Right,
Just-
as I
just,
remember, well, Mr. Bruce, as I remember, you actually had 2 or 3 different questions. So I was answering one of your first questions, which was look into the incident.
Okay.
Another question was, what's the policy on assault, which is what Jody just said. And so those 2 things I am going to speak to.
And the other thing was having not a handbook online, something that you can hold in your hand and open up.
And I'm gonna speak to that as well.
Thank you.
So, regarding the incident you asked us to look into, again, we took a very thorough look. Tanya looked into the incident as well. And because of confidentiality, I will say that our conclusion overall is that the responses to the events, given the data available at the time, was per established protocols. However, we will be looking to, and we are talking with the National Charter Schools Institute, as well as the Michigan Association of Public School Academies, for any guidance for incidents or further issues that may help us moving forward. So that is my overall comment, because frankly, anything else discussed gets into privacy issues and other things, as I mentioned before. But we did do a very thorough look. Tanya actually pulled together a general report for the board to see, and I can promise you that it was taken very seriously and it was looked into very closely.
Yeah, but I'm the person that asked you the question, and I'm allowing you to tell them, there's nothing to hide here.
I'm not trying to hide. The issue is that there are more than one particular person involved in the incident.
I understand that, so we would have to have the consent of all the parents.
Right, which we certainly don't
Which
have.
we never will anyway, the other 4.
So that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I can't get into all the specifics about a certain incident, certainly in an open meeting. Because one of the other points I wanted to make is.
Enough said.
You
I
know,
understand.
it's not the board, we don't dish out discipline,
No, I understand.
so thank you for understanding.
For the record, that's all.
Yeah, I appreciate your understanding. Secondly, handbook. We brought a copy here. There's going to be a copy in the office. It has been in the office. It's also online. As a green school, we do, instead of sending this out to every single person all the time, we do prefer to go online and look at it anytime online. It is available online. If you do really want a hard copy, then please come and talk to us and we can talk about that. But again, trying to keep along with the green stance, it is available online. You can look at it anytime online, but it is here if you want to look at it, and it's at the office if you want to look at it, and you can come and ask to speak.
There's no code of conduct in that book, is there?
No, the code of, it's, the family handbook does have, I believe it has anti-bullying and some other issues such as that. Doesn't have the code of conduct in here. But if you want to see that.
Basically, the reason I asked that question, and I'll make it real brief, it's because if somebody is handed a book, a handbook, okay, of all the things that go on in the school, if it's on paper, if it's on the internet, it can be changed without anybody knowing it. Okay, if somebody physically gives every person that comes to the school that book, and they have that book, yeah, you can make addendums and give people to put the sheets in. And that's my point. If it's online, it can be changed. Somebody can go in there and change the policy in there.
Mr. Bruce, the only thing I'll say to that is,
And I'm not saying you will, I'm just saying that somebody might do that.
I don't see anyone doing that without having a reason to do that. And the other thing I will tell you, just so for your information, CSU, as well as the Michigan Department of Education, looks at our website and reviews our content and ensures that we are having the right content on there. In fact, we recently went through a review by Michigan Department of Education who said that our webpage looked very good, and SVSU, which said that the page and the content and the order of the content was perfect. So that's all I can tell you.
All right,
I mean,
then enough said. You don't have to say anything.
so,
I
but it
understand.
is available in hard copy if you want to see it.
Thank you.
was the other, oh, assault. There is no assault policy, to be clear for everyone. There is a reason for that. It is generally a bad idea and not considered to be appropriate to have an assault policy for schools. We can go into details about why that is, but I can tell you assault is a very general term, and consequences for assault can, you know, you call something assault versus another thing assault, then it gets very, very problematic. So I'm only going to say there is no assault policy, but there really probably shouldn't be an assault policy. We go by the code of conduct, we go by discipline, we go by our soon-to-be principle about guiding issues with conduct and discipline, and that is what we use. So there is no particular assault policy, and I don't foresee us drafting an assault policy in particular for many of the reasons that, again, we'd be happy to discuss with parents at another time. Okay?
When's that other time?
If you want to briefly talk to me about it sometime, I'll be glad to just talk after a meeting.
Sure,
after this
I'd
meeting.
be happy to do that.
We're trying not to set up outside private meetings, but I'm glad to talk to you afterwards a little bit about
Well,
it.
I would appreciate that,
Okay.
thank you.
Other things. We did get a correspondence about having trouble finding, I think finding meeting times or something online. If you may have noticed, there is some rearrangement in the contents of the transparency page, but those were mandated by SVSU. They wanted a very specific type of progression of how those things were laid out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if there's a concern about the change of that, we were actually asked to do that for a particular reason. So we will not be really changing that content. And I understand if it might be a little confusing, it was not meant intentionally so people would have trouble finding anything. It's just a matter of that's how the page was asked to be set up by SVSU and our authorizer, okay? As well as Michigan Department of Education for the content. So I wanted to be clear that that was out there. That was a question that was sent to the board over the break, or over the course of this past month. I think that's it. Marcy had an issue about wondering about or concern about the teachers coming in and out of the upper grades. And we have hired a teacher that appears to be doing very well. I will tell you that we all, obviously, we have not seen some of the changes in teachers in that level. I don't think any of the teachers here, any of the administrators, or any of the parents want to see that happen, nor does any of the board members. And we work very, very diligently to make sure that we get the best possible candidate in when there's an empty space. And there were multiple candidates, actually, I think they were interviewed this time, and I really do feel like we got the best candidate. So I just wanted to speak to Marcy's question about that. I think that I've spoken to everything. If I missed anything that anyone can think of.
Actually, I know public comment's over, but I thought you were going to cover it. There was a question last month about town hall, and if we can have one, and where, and when.
Oh yes. We are relaying with leadership. There was a town hall actually done in the first semester. We can certainly review that and talk with leadership again. They didn't call it a town hall, for those who might be thinking there wasn't, but there was actually a beginning of the year gathering. I forgot exactly what they called it, but it was a town hall.
That's not a town hall meeting.
Labeled a parent connection meeting, and when it was advertised, there was a real bit of ambiguity about what it really was, what the subject matter was. So maybe if you just label it town hall.
We want a town meeting.
Fair enough.
For everybody.
So I mean, that's something that being discussed in the background, okay? So we're going to move past the public comment and the correspondence now. We're going to try to get into business, so please be patient with us as we move through our business. We're going to move on to continuing business in the financial committee update. So I'm going to let Alan take it over.
All right, so some of the things we discussed, the finance, and budget dimension items, as far as the revenue is concerned. Our original budget was based on 116 kids. Our current enrollment for kids is 114, so we have a net loss of about 14K. Reviewing the expenditures to date based on our projections and what we're going to spend, by the end of the 15-16 school year, we should end up with roughly a little over 48,000. Prioritized spending for the rest of this year is we're looking into a sound solution for the large classroom, a acoustical curtain, and we're budgeting that at 3,000. We still need to get an architect approval on the load-bearing weight of the beam to make sure it can handle the weight. Denise sent for email out to Linda Associates to attest to load bearing weight. Waiting on response. We are pursuing a photocopy machine contract, a 2-month lease. Currently, the amount of money we spend on ink and paper and printer maintenance is around $200 a month. This lease contract basically is the same price. We get a brand new copy machine, all free ink for all our machines, all the maintenance is covered, so it's actually a really good deal. And then we're also adding building repairs and maintenance category to increase the expenses for soap and toilet paper, etc. Legal fees, as they mentioned, need to increase budget amount given current issues from $10K to $40K. Increased budget amount for advertising by $1,000. Estimate on a new sign out by the road is around $400. Lead time is about 1 to 2 days. MAPSA membership at $350, and then the NCSI administrative guidelines projecting at $5,000. The last thing is the hub update we're looking at. So our current capacity right now is 120, and with a hub update, get full usage of the hub will increase us a max or a projection of 20 students, which would mean about 140,000 more per year. So it's going to be probably done in 2 sections. So before the end of the school year, the plan is to get architectural plans drawn up and approval by the state, to get completed by the end of or the middle of this year. Then for the following school year would be the construction and state approval once it's construction's finished. Finance 16-17 budget items. Reminder: the landlord approved our rent counter proposal of $3,000 per month through June, increased to $4,000 per month as of 7/1/2016. Front door buzzer camera system, increased internet to the hub and had classroom phone installation. Current quote is at $4,000. Hire Buck Institute directly. Still working on the cost. And that's about it.
Any other questions about that? Again, we can talk more at the budget amendment issue.
Got one over here.
No.
Sorry. I just wanted.
Sorry. No, we really do have to continue to move through.
I just wanted to help you.
We're gonna continue with the business. I'm sorry, but we're gonna continue.
We can speak after.
That'd be great. It's about your sound solution.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
So enrollment committee update. Molly?
So we just had an enrollment committee meeting last week on Thursday. We were able to go through the re-enrollment forms that we received from current families. Happy to report that 95% of our current families have affirmed that they'll re-enroll for next year. We did have something new with these forms this year where it was a yes, I'm coming back, no, I'm making another plan, or we're undecided at this time. And so there, with the small number of undecided folks, Jen has been on the case connecting with those families to see what the concerns may be. And she's actually had a couple people turn to yes already on that, and she's continuing that effort. Our open enrollment period will begin next Monday. We're advertising that on our website, on the Ranch Express, and then the server for people to issue. Our lottery, should we need to have a lottery, will be on February 18th. That will also be part of the advertising. And our next enrollment meeting is going to be on February 10th.
Is there an issue with the advertising of enrollment? Is that what that was? Was it something about weekends or evenings?
They do require us to say when it's a little bit odd because our enrollment is actually online. So you can do it 24 hours a day in your pajamas or eating a bowl of cereal, as long as you have internet access. But we are required by us to make sure that we have someone here on premises to walk people through the application process on an evening day or an evening and a weekend day. And so we've covered that time too, and that's in the ad.
It's just one evening and one weekend.
Right.
advertise that something?
Yeah.
Within local paper?
Any other questions on enrollment? All right, we're going to move on. This is just a quick update on contracts. I'm happy to say that finally, with the back and forth and all the approvals that are required, all the contracts are done, except Access Point had a recent big modification that's based on state mandated changes, so that will go through quickly. And there weren't any changes according to the language, so I went ahead and signed those, and I'll just sign Access Points when I have it across my desk because it's still under the guidance that we had taken. And that is really it on contracts. All our contracts will now be completely up to date, and that's nice. And as I understand it, also Futures has been working well in space, and so far things are going very well with them, so I'm glad to hear that. Reauthorization packet status, you heard. I just wanted to mention from a board perspective, that was sent off and is pending, and we'll see how things go. I mentioned at the last meeting a letter to the board from SBSU asking about policy issues, FERPA, FOIA, some other things over the school year, and asking us to respond to some concerns that they wanted to make sure that things were shored up, et cetera. And we responded to them, and then they have not yet responded back with their findings. And when they do, then we will be putting out a report based on all of that. But that still is pending at SVSU. And Mr. Lewis, who is our authorizer, SUBO in the office, that is our main contact there, has asked us to wait until his final report is available before we would be expected to or should post or in any way post anything regarding that. So we're going to move on to new business. I suggested moving the enrollment cap. This is something that SVSU has asked us to do before we do our enrollment and our application process. They want us to have a defined cap in place, and it presumably can be done in a per classroom basis. We generally have made that cap 20, and to me that's an appropriate number, but I would open up for any discussion from the board for eventual vote on a number per classroom. Anyone have any issues with that number or any concerns?
Do we have any number in terms of, is that a charter or something to the public?
The charter was approved at 18, but only for our second year, we were given permission to go up to 20 for budget purposes.
Okay.
Again, this gets into classrooms and et cetera with enrollment, and that comes into the hub and things we'll talk about down on the line a little bit, but I think 20 makes sense. It's what we targeted before, and I think that keeps us with our enrollment where it needs to be. It doesn't give the teachers too many nuggets running around, yeah? Okay. So I would put it to a potential vote if anyone has a motion for approving our enrollment cap to be 20 per classroom.
Make a motion to define the classroom enrollment cap at 20 students per classroom.
All in favor of that? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain for a vote
Okay.
tonight, just because.
That's fine. I just realized it was the first vote. I want to make sure that I either heard or didn't. I think it's fine to abstain on your first night, Keith. I have no problems with that. I know what my first night was like. All right. Moving on to some of the meat of what we're doing, not meat of what we're doing, but approvals that we need to do. The administrative guidelines, let me take that piece first. Well, actually, that's going to be in the budget amendments. I'm going to quickly say something. There was a FOIA administrative guideline that we had previously had, and we have not officially subscribed, so that will come in the next part. That guideline was given to us to help us out from NCSI. There's a lot of numbers on there and a lot of things. It's not a policy, so it's not urgent to be approved tonight. They can still use it as a guideline. So I would offer that we table that to make sure that those numbers and everything that needs to be through that guideline are accurate and appropriate, because we just got that very recently and really haven't had time to be sure that all those numbers are included in that before it's posted. So, and I don't want you to have only like 10 days to get it up, and if we approve something that still needs numbers and so forth. So I'd like to propose holding on approval of that guideline till later. It doesn't mean you can't use information in it because it is a guideline, not a policy, but I would vote to table that. Does anyone else have any problems with tabling that?
Is that just the FOIA piece?
Just the FOIA piece, just the
But not the
administrative
rest of this
guideline,
piece?
not the rest of it.
Okay.
Anyone else have any issues?
No.
Okay. All right, so, any motions to table the FOIA administrative guideline approval, that one by itself?
We make a motion to table the administrative FOIA guidelines.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then, I assume an abstention from Keith? Correct. Okay.
Can we just, the next meeting, I assume that we can move to the next meeting?
Yes.
If leadership can just speak to that and make sure that everything's in place to be able to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We can actually go
Or if
to
there's
it.
anything that they
I mean,
need
hopefully
us
there
to do.
shouldn't be quite the heavy agenda items that we have tonight. We can speak a little more. That's another reason to table it, to be honest with you. Okay? All right, now regarding policies, just bear with me. I also have some summaries for reasons for changes if you want to know them. I'm going to go through if there's any particular questions. Many of these, as you could imagine, are mandated changes that we, even if you wanted to modify, you can't because it's part of Michigan law language that changes. Others we can certainly discuss. And again, I know that you all have had copies of this. So I'm going to start with 0143 and ask if there's any issues with membership authority, and actually go ahead and include 431 and 443 because those are conflict of interest and public expression of board members and regarding the membership for board. Does anybody have any issues with the membership portion?
I got a question about the conflict of interest. It says
Okay.
staff members are forbidden from providing any private lessons or services for a fee. So teachers are forbidden from tutoring?
That is a good point. That didn't actually come up when we discussed this with our NCSI rep.
I think that it's,
And actually,
I think it's trying to say basically that you can't tutor your own students. But the way this is written seems to say that you can't tutor, period.
Whether it's outside of school hours
Right.
or,
Well, it's just period, you just can't. Shall not engage in business, the private practice of their profession, rendering services or selling goods of any type to take advantage of any current or past professional relationship with any student, client, or parent in the course of their employment with the academy.
right on. That's true.
So if we can modify
We
that.
can, we can certainly get clarification and modification. What generally we do in this case, because they have to go through the process through NCSI, as you know, on the sheet here, what we'll do is we'll table it and then we'll talk to them, and then they can make modifications and then get an adjustment back to us.
Or maybe they just clarify what that.
Yeah, more
what that's saying.
clarification as well, but that's something that, interestingly enough, we didn't particularly speak to in our meeting about this policy. It didn't come up as an obvious problem, but I appreciate that catch. So, I mean, I think certainly given that concern, we would table that's 143.
11:30.
I think
We can tutor our own students. Obviously, there's conflict of interest there. For a fee. You can tutor them voluntarily, but in terms of tutoring for a fee, you cannot tutor your own students.
Where this fire approval, and the kitchen has to be modified to either there is a sprinkler system because it's a gas stove, or they put in an electric stove. My vote would be an electric stove
well,
because
the church already wants an electric in, which
Yeah.
would forego the need of having a fire suppression system, which is pricey, so that would give us a cost here or there by buying electric stove, but that work.
And they did look at those, what would it be, and those were the three main things. So there's a possibility that it wouldn't take a ton to do. This is the budget of kind of conservative estimate, but it actually could come in quite less, especially if the church decides that they will help with putting in an electric stove, and then we kind of do some of the other costs, which would be the door and the wall structure improvements. So.
And I guess I would hope that since we're making modifications to the church's building, improvements to the church's building, that the church would also be funding part of it.
Yeah, I think that's some discussion we can have, and I will tell you that given their congregational issues, I know that they are fairly strapped as well. So, but discussions that certainly are fair to have.
Sounds good.
anybody else have any comments on that at all? All right. I do want to just do them line by line because I think that's just a bit more efficient to do it that way. Maps, there was the day that we actually have to vote on adding that, but I guess we will just to be complete, given the amount, et cetera, but we can vote on that just to be complete. So budget amendments, I'll sign this in the end, but for line items, one, obtaining administrative guidelines for $5,000 in order to support our policies in our manual. Any motions for that?
Actually,
Yep.
just combine them all.
Okay, if you want to
I'm
combine
not sure
them,
there's,
then
unless
we
there's
have a
somebody
list here.
that has a particular, I mean, the only one that I was concerned about is the building improvements, and we're not actually moving forward with anything, so.
Okay.
I'll go for them. That would be the only one.
Based on my
I'd be
experience, whenever we had to allocate funds, it has to.
I mean, we're putting it in the budget, we're not spending it,
No, I
so,
understand that, you know, but.
yeah, that's what we're
you know,
voting on, is
changes
putting it in the budget.
In the budgets that I deal with in my other board position, anytime it has to be, the lawyers said you have to do it line by line. Now, it may be different because it is a nonprofit.
Let's do it.
I mean, you have a full resolution, and it's up to you.
We can approve the
I
resolution.
understand from my experience as another board member elsewhere, whenever there's any changes, it has to be a line by line item.
How about we go quickly?
Sure.
All right?
Go ahead, Doug.
Don't want to make,
Let's go.
don't want to make that
Dumb
dumb
idea.
All right, yeah, Alan knows the number two. Okay, so budget amendments, number one, obtaining administrative guidelines for the policies.
I make a motion to approve $5,000 for obtaining as administrative guidelines for policies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, one abstention. Building improvement fund, 15,000, not 30,000, to begin architectural design, et cetera.
I make a motion to allocate $15,000 for building improvement funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. Increase legal support line item from $8,000 to $40,000 to support any costs incurred throughout the end of the year.
I make a motion to increase legal support line item from $8,000 to $40,000 for the school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
One abstention. Nay? Okay. One nay. Copy machine lease and new budget addition for equipment leasing. Now, we will approve the line item and then we will approve the lease because we have to sign the lease. The lease again is a 2-year, it's a 5-year lease, sorry.
Actually, 3.
Oh,
We
it's
were
3.
given 3 years.
Oh, you changed it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine. But again, it'll, it saves money over our costs over time. So, line item is machine leasing new budget addition for equipment leasing of $2,400 is a line item for this budget.
And that's gonna be per year?
2,400 years.
Yes.
I make a motion to allocate $2,400 for a new copy machine.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, one abstention. Advertising fund increase from $1,500 to $2,500 for sign and other advertising needs.
Make a motion to increase the advertising fund from $1,500 to $2,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, one abstention. Again, approval of the rental agreement for leasing for a 3-year, and it does say here 36 months, monthly payments of $90. And for approval for us to include, go into this lease with for support, sorry, for copy machine lease and support.
Has Doug looked at it yet?
Yes, Doug. No, Doug has not looked at it yet. It will go to Doug also first. In fact, what we can do is I can send it to him first for his approval before my signature. If
So
that's
can we
what you
approve
want.
you signing it after?
After he
approval?
approves it, yes. Any motions for that?
I make a motion to approve the copy machine lease. Pending legal counsel's approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. And the MAPSA, for MAPSA membership, it's 8, it's 8, is it 8?
800, yes.
I make a motion to pay the pipe line item for MAPSA of $800.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. All right, moving on. We got through all of those major issues. I'm going to go ahead and, well, actually, yeah.
Approve the 2 production?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. I missed those. I didn't have them on my initial agenda.
So it's special items, right?
Yes, sorry. So the deductions, because they're not additions, well,
No, we accepted the rent reduction to be.
yeah, I know, because that's part of the contract, that's why I didn't think, that's not,
That one would be approved.
that's part of the.
Which changes your amendment, so however you want to do it.
Well, how about we also, then we would, it would be an approval of the amendment as written, including deductions, or including deductions.
I need a motion to the overall amendments and budget, and deductions.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And one abstention. So, modified leadership structure. As part of our reconsideration moving forward, Jen has been doing a fabulous job, I believe, as our administrator coming in when we really only had part-time to, and sometimes very little administration support over the last year, previous year. And so the leadership has been talking about how the structure moving forward in hopes that it will also improve just the general flow of business. So the leadership structure has come up with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the title Jen will be taking moving forward will be principal, and she'll be the primary leader in the school space and principal/administrator, but her primary title will be principal. I'm going to go with Denise next. She is going to be what she has really been previously, and that is the operations manager. And then Molly will also become the student affairs and recruitment coordinator and culture coordinator. So student affairs, recruitment, and culture coordinator. These were really thought through very carefully to make sure that it spoke to their roles, what they do, certifications, and all of those other matters. And so that will be restructured. I want to make a quick point so that this isn't a concern that anyone has. Regarding the charter, this is still considered a shared leadership model, meaning that we don't expect Jen to be in charge of the budget and budget line items, but yet they are necessary to continue the school moving forward. So it is still shared leadership, but it is shared leadership in a hierarchical manner, so that there is some hierarchy to this leadership model with Jen being the principal and the lead in the space. So it will be a shared leadership model, but with a hierarchy to it. And we have discussed this with SVSU. They were very pleased with that model, and we'll get their final responses on it as well. But there were no overall concerns, and they were happy to see some of that change. So, given that that is a projected proposal to change their titles and so forth, I will put it to the board to approve this change and any discussion anyone might have. If there's no discussions, then I open the table up for any motions.
Make a motion to approve the modified leadership structure for Bethlehem School.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One abstention?
Yes, sir. Can we make sure that the new job description is still on the,
Yes.
wherever it needs to go?
Yes, and they've been working on it. Or just making sure that they line up with all of that. Okay, we've seen the evaluation rubric for administrator. I'll open up for any discussion on that, and then if there is no discussion, we can go on to motion with that as well.
This is the one that you're kind of taking into account the 2018 stuff that the state's going on with? This rubric?
Yes, well, the majority, the updates were for the teacher rubric, but, the administrative rubric goes along with all the teacher requirements as well.
Have you guys, this is a day in May include, but it's not limited to, and has a big long list. Have you guys decided what you would use, and how you would use in terms of like percentages or anything like that?
For the data?
For the data piece?
Right now, for mid-year evaluations for teachers, I only use NWEA data.
Okay.
For the end of the year, I will use NWEA, but I will also allow them to bring, like DRA, not as staff yet, because we won't have this year's back, and so it's still too early to use that. So mostly any classroom data that they may have as well as that.
Is it weighted in a certain way, or?
The whole data section on the evaluation is like 50% of their evaluation, and that is just so that we're ahead of the game
Right.
for the state of 2018.
But I believe the data's in terms of showing growth.
Yes, and
So
that's that.
if you're bringing something that shows growth, does that replace? Does that, I mean, how is that weighted if some things are showing growth and some things are not necessarily showing growth?
Yeah, we didn't go into specifics of that yet, since that was the first year that we
Right.
are using this tool, but we just say part does say like a percentage of students showing growth.
Okay.
But we can, you know, talk further about what data pieces we want and how probably that's going on.
That's great. So I also want to form the hub committee based on what we talked about. Do we vote? Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Thank you very much. Open the floor to any motions for approval.
Make a motion to accept the evaluation rubric for principal/administrator.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And one abstention. Also want to form a HUD committee. We can do a quick vote on that. Basically, we had thought to look into, again, what the cost would be, what we could do, what's going on. We thought it should involve someone from the church here. Alan had offered to go because he'd been doing some of the investigation into this previously, as well as Molly, given that she's the operations manager here. Denise, given that she's the operations manager.
Mom
here.
has like 8 titles.
Yeah, given that she's the operations manager. And then also, or no, we didn't say necessarily that. Anyway, we're also going to open it up to anyone in the public that has experience with contracting, et cetera, so that some of the project management side of it, we could deal with without having to add that extra cost on. So we'd like to look for any volunteers from the community who have experience with that. Maybe one of the teachers would like
I
to.
watch a lot of HGTV.
Yeah.
A lot of Property Brothers.
So you're planning to be. All right. So anyway, so we're going to open up to the community at large for anybody who has experience with contracting, et cetera, so that they can have some input as well. And I think that's great to get some community involved. Would there be any discussion about the formation and the structure of that committee? Anybody has any comments on it?
Just making sure that all the teachers have some way to have input into the design and things like that. I'm sure we'll go through.
We can certainly add one of them on as well. We were trying to keep it.
Yeah, no.
We were trying to. Do it, not it. I will let you all discuss. All right. Yeah,
I don't know if they necessarily have to have a committee, but having some formal way for them to be able to have input.
We can be sure that the committee either has that as line item to discuss each meeting, or certainly you're welcome to have one of you on. I think that's perfect. You're not forced to. I know you're stretched thin a lot of times.
I think a lot of our talk is not just what's the minimum, like what's the long term we see for that, you know, years twice along the process.
All right. Any other discussion about that? From the board side, we'll have Alan represent, and then Denise, someone from here in the community, and a teacher. Any motions to form that committee?
Make a motion to form the hub committee, one right down. And Denise.
Members of the church.
Members of the church.
Members of the community.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I did, not to keep things going, but I did want to, I recognize, and Keith, we can discuss this another time if you like, but I do recognize that Keith has some great skills to bring to the table, and I would offer that at any point that you would like to look into any type of committee forming, public relations as well as recruitment and advertising, those kind of things, which is very much an expertise of yours. I would let you I'm happy doing it tonight, or you can think about more on it and we can have it for the future. So I would open that to you.
Sure, I appreciate that, thank you. Obviously, I think there's a lot of opportunities here, maybe some ground that we've not yet covered here as a school, and so I think it's a great idea. I'd actually like to work with you, Molly, you're the cultural lead, and maybe we can talk about what we've done so far, and then we can talk about possibilities that exist. I do have a public relations background. I was a communications director for Speaker of the House, and so I have quite a bit of background in external affairs and so forth, and happy to use those skills to help promote the school, find out ways that we can encourage greater growth here, and then community collaboration. So let's start with maybe some communication with Molly, and we'll see if we need to expand that to conversation with others, and whether that requires a committee or some individual research or so forth, and then we can make the determinations.
Great. Keith, thank you very much. So we'll hold off on formal committee action, but I really I really applaud that, and I really appreciate you really jumping right into the deep end as far as involvement, Keith. I really appreciate it. Last thing, and I realized I didn't mention this before, there was another member, in case anyone's saying, hey, wasn't there another board member that was supposed to be brought on board today? And that was Erica Chikaway. I think that's her correct last name. She contacted us, and she is actually moving to Pittsburgh. So she is moving because of the job and the need to find work, or not find work, but for work in another place. And she's going to be moving within the next month or so. So she didn't, obviously couldn't, and she didn't find out till right before she'd already been approved actually, and then found out. So, so that's one issue there. So we will continue to be looking for a seventh member at some point in the future.
She just found out it was unpaid.
Yeah. All right, with that, everyone's favorite line item, probably.
There's no further business to attend to. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We can talk it back afterwards. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for being patient through a long meeting with lots of things.